Now let's look at what happens before you incarnate in each life on earth. Why would people discern that something is wrong for them and still go ahead and choose that option? Why do you think people do things to you? I grew up with first-hand experience of living with a parent who abused various substances daily. I have first-hand experience of the destruction this caused to my family, social and emotional life, and how it forced me into a situation of playing mother to my siblings to a lesser or greater extent when I was a teenager. I had every reason to choose to avoid this path. Instead, I chose to marry a man who in his early 20s already had a police record for driving under the influence of alcohol and endangering people's lives. I knew that there would only be one outcome for the marriage, and I was warned against the commitment. Yet, I chose to go ahead with the wedding. To a man who was so hungover that he told me afterwards he couldn't remember much of the ceremony. There had been a debate about nature versus nurture as the cause of being gay for many years. For me, the debate is as irrelevant as arguing about whether I can change my green eyes to brown eyes, or whether I have green eyes by choice or because of my diet. Being gay or not is a choice we make before we are even born. And for this life, I chose to be straight. When I chose to turn my back on religion, I had no idea how divisive my decision would be, and how that was just the beginning of my siblings choosing to distance themselves, often in the politest possible way, for many years, until I called their bluff and said I would walk away from them. Only then did I realize how deep-seated their beliefs were, and that there was nothing I could do to make myself or the path I chose more acceptable to them. My explanation for these hurtful choices and experience is what I intuitively know about eternal life and about what happens between lives. Since becoming aware of this, I've read of the experiences of other people that resonated with me, and I have this deep sense of knowing my truth. As far as I could gather, there's a big meeting before you are born, while you are still on your eternal journey outside of this world. During this meeting, the theme for your next incarnation is decided. This theme can take on many forms, such as dealing with dis-ease, or struggling with self-love and self-destruction, learning to trust, dealing with abandonment, or understanding the futility of judging others, or any one of a range of other themes. Once the theme or life script for your next incarnation is agreed, the next step is to enter soul contracts with the most important role players. These would include your parents, siblings, lovers, and other significant people in your life, such as mentors, friends, and people whose actions or words will be a significant influence in your life. If you consider that you enter these contracts with your parents before they even are born, you get an indication of the amount of planning that goes into your next incarnation alone. And remember, you are one of many billions of people. When the time is right, which doesn't mean that the correct date on the calendar is reached, but rather that every role player is in place, you are born, and your journey through this life commences. As soon as you can function separately from your parents, you start living that life script. You make significant choices, and you are the one to decide whether they are right or wrong. And then you live through the consequences. You live your life script based on your soul contracts with people who incarnated with you. It's no accident that you meet a person and start a relationship. Of course, the ideal will be that it's love at first sight and that you live happily ever after. However, having soul contracts explain why people choose to go into abusive relationships with their eyes wide open, and why they often stay in those abusive relationships against all reason and contrary to their best judgment. This explains why a woman will still try to justify the behavior of their tormentor, up to the point where their life is in danger, and sometimes even to the point where they become the victim of fatal domestic violence. It's no accident that you choose to adhere to a religion of your choice. It's also no accident that some people turn their backs on that same religion. It all depends on your life script and your soul contracts. Look back at your life and identify those bad decisions that you made. Some of them with your eyes open and as if you were in autopilot, where you just couldn't help yourself, knowing that you were doing something that was completely against your nature. Then you'll know what I'm talking about.